A man stood in the shadows, holding a blood-soaked dagger. He looked at the person before him as if he were already dead. How pitiful. The old man trembled as he crawled on the ground, blood spilling from the corner of his mouth. Finley, I am your... Before he could finish saying father, Finley viciously stomped on his hand. The old man let out a shrill scream. Ha! Finley picked up another dagger. I once lived in hell. Let's make a pact between father and son. The old man's eyes widened. He could no longer speak. A green pendant edged with a silver wave pattern fell into the sea of blood, yet landed on a clean patch of ground, as if to suggest it was a treasure that could not be stained. Finley picked up the pendant with his bloodied hand. Dried blood still stained his face. Surrounded by corpses, he sat there as if no one else existed, silently gazing at it. His blood-stained fingers gently caressed the locket. Inside was a portrait of a woman. My dear Ro, for these past 5 years, I hope you could smile from the bottom of your heart, just as you used to. The black-haired man lowered his eyes, his face splattered with blood, staring at the person lying in his arms. Without me, were you happy, Rowena Celeste? Wearing a gorgeous pink gown, her hand lightly resting over her chest, she was the most beloved princess of the Bayonet Empire. People said her eyes were the brightest stars in the night sky, Bayonet's very own star. On the grass, Athanasia was weaving a flower crown for her father. Father, with a flower crown one more time. Her father laughed heartily, surrounded by his family, basking in their love. Your Highness, would you like some fresh fruit? Rowena leaned out from the carriage and waved to the crowd. Princess, please come have tea with us. She was a princess adored by the people. At the ball, a nobleman extended his hand to Rowena. Princess, may I have this dance? She was a princess blessed by the god of love. In a lavish portrait, 15-year-old Rowena stood cherished and admired by all. Yet love is fragile, like shattered glass. The smile of the figure in the painting turned cold. Then one day, she was accused of murdering her sister. In the darkness, Rowena felt as though she were falling into an abyss. Crawford Celeste sat upon the throne, looking down at the kneeling Charlotte. You killed Princess Sharplin. The evidence is conclusive. What do you have to say for yourself? Rowena was in disbelief. Why is everyone looking at me like that? I didn't kill my sister. She was so kind to me. How could I possibly kill her? Queen Rosamanda Britt sneered. What are you pretending for? You're just like your mother, always acting pitiful, shameless, and despicable. Emperor Crawford Celeste listened to the argument, his head throbbing. Your Majesty, that is, the Queen angrily confronted him. Why are you accusing me? She wasn't just anyone. She was my dearest child. Sharplin is dead. I raised her as my own daughter, even though another woman gave birth to her. And this is how I'm repaid? The Queen rushed forward and slapped Rowena across the face. You've gone too far. Clutching her cheek, Rowena choked out. I really didn't do anything. Second Prince Louis Celeste spoke up accusingly. Enough. There are so many witnesses. They all testified that poison was found in your room. The Queen burst into tears. My Sharplin, the second prince demanded. Father, are you still going to protect this woman? The Emperor raised his eyes to Rowena. Enough. Don't look at me like that. Rowena persisted. Father, there has been some misunderstanding. Please believe me. A flicker of conflict passed through the Emperor's eyes. Rowena, suddenly, a sharp pain twisted through his chest, and he coughed up blood. The Emperor's hand was covered in blood. Rowena stared in shock. Unbelievable blood welled from his lips, staining his uniform red. Chesterton immediately gave the order. Lock Rowena in the dungeon and await sentencing. 2 guards stepped forward to seize her. Rowena, she cried. Father! Chesterton held up his sword and looked at Rowena coldly. Even after killing her, you're still this shameless. Were you planning to kill Father too? Rowena looked up. Brother, Chesterton roared. Don't call me brother. I don't have a vicious little sister like you. No, that's not true. Rowena sobbed uncontrollably. The Queen rushed over to embrace the Emperor, while the second prince watched it all with cold eyes. Why? Why won't anyone believe me? The guard dragged Rowena away. Rowena Celeste, murder is a capital crime. She will be imprisoned until sentencing. Daily torture. The iron dungeon doors slammed shut. Bound in chains, Rowena collapsed on the freezing stone floor, her clothes in rags and stained with blood. Footsteps echoed through the corridor. A prison guard's voice sounded. Your Highness, why have you come here? The dungeon is dangerous. Chesterton's voice rang out. It's fine. I want to speak with Rowena alone. The guard bowed and withdrew. Yes, Your Highness. Hearing the footsteps, Rowena thought, more torture? She struggled to lift her head. Rowena. Rowena crawled desperately toward the bars. Chesterton crouched outside the cell door. My poor little sister. Rowena clutched the iron bars tightly. Brother Chesterton, how is father? Is mother all right? He must be terribly worried about me. Chesterton covered his face with one hand. Rowena, father, watching the change in him. Rowena's eyes widened in disbelief. Then Chesterton suddenly burst into laughter, his face twisting with glee. Ha ha ha. You really haven't disappointed me. It's all because of you and your mother. How does it feel to fall from heaven into hell? This is only the beginning. Chesterton gripped Rowena's face. He could hardly wait to see the look on her face when she realized she had been betrayed. The people of Bayonet all want you executed. They used to shout, "Long live the princess." Rowena slumped to the ground. No, a trace of cruelty lingered in Chesterton's smile. I told the people that although she is guilty, she is still my sister, and I would let her live to atone for her sins. He gripped the cell door with both hands. The people praised my mercy and said I would become a great ruler. Sharplin's death still had meaning after all, didn't it, Rowena? Her body trembled with despair. Mother, Chesterton, brother. Why? I told you not to call me brother. Do you know how disgusting it is, acting every single day? I'm sick of you and your stupid mother. Through tears, Rowena shouted, "You're the one who killed my sister." So what? Don't worry. You'll never know. Chesterton burst into laughter again. You just asked what happened to your mother, didn't you? I'll tell you. That despicable mother of yours was hanged. Rowena's eyes flew wide with rage. Chesterton yanked her by the hair. No one will help you. This dungeon is where you belong in the end. If he were here, he would definitely help you. But you wounded him deeply and sent him back to Osborne. And in that place, he'll only suffer more than you. Rowena covered her ears. Stop. Just let me die. Chesterton roared. I told you. I'll let you live. But I'll make you suffer. I will never forgive you. I'll make you feel every bit of my pain. He turned away. He could never refuse you. He adored you. But even so, no one knows whether he'll ever wake up, right? In the dim dungeon stairwell, two maids snickered. Look at her. She's just like an obedient dog. Whatever you throw to her, she eats. As they spoke, one of them tossed in a moldy loaf of bread. The brown-haired maid laughed. Here's your food, your favorite cocoa bread. Looking at the bread, Rowena muttered, bread, cocoa bread. Without hesitation, she picked it up and took a bite. Seeing that Rowena actually ate it, the two maids laughed openly. Rowena simply kept eating bite after bite. She knew perfectly well that if she didn't eat it, there would be nothing else. Oh no, the black-haired maid covered her nose and mouth in disgust. How many days has it been since the princess bathed? Her face twisted with revulsion. She reeks. I told you there was nothing worth seeing here. She turned and urged her companion along. Let's go. The smell is making me sick. The two maids hurried away, their footsteps fading. Did you hear? The coup in Osborne. One of them chatted excitedly. The emperor was assassinated by his own son. What a cruel story, isn't it? She went on, they say that son was Finley, the one who used to be imprisoned here. The other maid looked shocked. What? I thought he was dead long ago. Surviving in Osborne is no ordinary feat. Guards passed by the cell, casually discussing another kingdom. Bayonet really is a fine country, isn't it? The crown prince has been devotedly caring for his majesty for 5 years. So devout. Sitting in the corner, Rowena's green eyes trembled at those words. She gripped the half-eaten bread tightly, her fingertips straining. Her whole body shook violently, as if all strength had left her. The bread slipped from her hand and rolled to the ground. Her vision gradually blurred. Memories of the past surged up. It was as if she could see him again, the back of a black-haired man emerging in dazzling light, tall and straight. Night slowly fell. Rowena lay on the cold floor beside the unfinished bread. It had been so long since she had heard that name. Lying on her side, a tear slipped from the corner of her eye. How is he doing now? Tears kept flowing. She wiped them away with her sleeve. I'm doing well. I hope you are too. Light poured in through the high window, illuminating the dark cell. Rowena slowly raised her head, so bright. Kneeling on the floor, she stared at the patch of light. In her green eyes, there was only endless emptiness. I have been imprisoned for 5 years. At first, Chesterton took pleasure in tormenting me. Laughing wildly, he lashed his whip through the air. Wicked woman. Cry, princess of Bayonet. Beg me for mercy. When my reactions grew dull, he lost interest in tormenting me. Chesterton looked down at the Rowena, collapsed on the ground. Rowena, I am disappointed. He crouched down and gripped her throat. Why didn't you call for help? Didn't I used to love you so dearly? He leaned close to her ear. If you begged me with tears in your eyes, I might even pity you. Rowena only gaped wordlessly, offering no reaction at all. She let Chesterton tighten his grip. Maybe it would be better to be strangled to death by the brother she had once loved most. Chesterton let out a cold, mocking laugh. He released his hand, and Rowena's head slammed heavily against the floor. The dull thud of the back of her skull hitting stone rang out, and darkness instantly swallowed her vision. All she heard was his contemptuous snort. Chesterton rose to his feet and ordered the maid nearby. How are you taking care of her? Bathe her at once. She stinks. He tossed down a handkerchief. Then he turned and left. The brown-haired maid knelt. Understood, Your Highness. 2 years passed. Chesterton no longer came to visit. The brown-haired maid looked at Rowena coldly. Your Highness, it's time for your bath. A bucket of cold water was suddenly thrown over Rowena. The maid tossed the wooden bucket aside and stood before the cell door. She said coldly, Please rest quietly. Even to scolding and insults from those who wanted me gone, I only responded calmly. Little by little, those cruel things stopped affecting me. I only kept living. That was all. I'll make him regret that I'm still alive. For these 5 years, I kept dreaming of climbing those stairs. Again and again, wandering through the same dream. My steps were heavy, yet I could not stop. The staircase seemed endless, stretching upward, disappearing into darkness. What was above those stairs? Rowena raised a hand to shield her eyes as sunlight streamed through her fingers. She narrowed her eyes. The warmth, so long forgotten, stung them. Halos of light spread through her vision. Her blonde hair fluttered in the wind. She stood barefoot on the grass. Even so, I still want to see it with my own eyes. I want to see the end of every person I hate, rotting in hell. That is my only wish. Such heavy rain. Rowena. Chesterton covered his nose. You still smell awful. You've grown up now. Chesterton. It's been a long time. The last time we met was 3 years ago, wasn't it? It seems you stopped calling me brother. Rowena let out a dazed laugh and said, Brother. His expression instantly turned cold. I have nothing left now, and clinging to the next emperor is unrealistic, isn't it? That's right, the Star of Bayonet, a noble soul, reduced to a prisoner. Everyone who loved you is gone, and yet, even after falling into this hell, you still shine with pride. Why? Even after 5 long years of torture and humiliation. A long-haired woman scooped up water and poured it over a boy from above. You're the one who looks like His Majesty. Then why does he only like that bitch and her child? You had fun playing with Rowena again, didn't you? Why did you betray me? The boy trembled. Mother, why? Why can't I make her feel my pain? Rowena, isn't she my sister? The woman seemed to explode. Sister? She is that bitch's child, the child of a vile woman. That woman and her child stole His Majesty's love from me. And you call her your sister? I'm the only one who truly loves you. Everything I do is for you. I lost His Majesty's love, so you must love me in her place. Do you understand? The boy trembled as he answered, I understand. Under his mother's twisted affection, Chesterton blamed everything on Rowena. You want to see the outside world, don't you? I have good news for you. Your wish is going to come true. You should thank me. Feel despair and pain, just as I did in my twisted, ugly life. Chesterton pressed down on her head. Do you hate me that much? I'm here to set you free. Seeing Rowena remain silent, he added, It seems you don't believe me. He instructed the maid behind him. Osborne's escort has arrived. Get her ready. We can't let her go out looking like this, or she'll disgrace the country. The maid offered him a handkerchief. Yes, Your Highness. I will crush every tiny hope you have and make you fall into true hell with your own 2 feet. You're finally free. Be happy. I'd be glad to be your brother again. The carriage sped through the rain and stopped before a gloomy building. Horse hooves splashed through the puddles. Every citizen stared at the carriage. Not even the rain kept them away. Not a single one of them felt any joy for Rowena's freedom. Rowena thought silently to the end. Does he still hate me too? The timeline returns to earlier. After she was released, Chesterton said, As your brother, I should warn you. That country is darker than any prison. He used to be that nation's prince. He was also a hostage from an enemy nation. But now he is emperor, and you are nothing but a royal murderer. Once, there was a time when he loved you more than anyone. If you hadn't betrayed his trust, he might even have saved you. Chesterton's hand brushed over Rowena's blonde hair. By that logic, he hates you even more than I do, my dear little sister. You turned him into a monster. Finley Huntington of Osborne. He killed his father with his own hands, along with all his brothers. Stepping over the corpses of family and friends, he ascended the throne. Rowena, your people are giving you a send-off, so stop looking so gloomy. Be a good hostage. Let Bayonet see what you can do him. Sitting in the carriage, Rowena thought, mother, father, sister Sharplin, and my beloved homeland, wait for me to return. People threw eggs at the carriage. Traitor, murderer, get lost. Going to Osborne won't change anything. You killed Princess Sharplin. You should pay with your life. Rowena thought. For now, I need to endure. The crowd shouted angrily. You colluded with the enemy, killed your sister, and even crippled his majesty. Shameless traitor. Get out. Chesterton watched it all. The people you loved don't love you anymore. Do you like this farewell gift? Kofi, commander of the Knights of the Osborne Empire, declared. Any further insult toward Princess Rowena, and the Osborne army will crush your country in 3 days. The crowd fell silent in fear, and all insults ceased at once. Kofi explained, this is His Majesty's mercy. We will ensure the princess arrives safely in our country. Rowena's eyes could not hide her grief. Kofi looked at Princess Rowena. If you wish to survive, you must forget who you once were. That is my advice. The Osborne procession began its 3-day journey. 3 days later, Rowena stared blankly at the cocoa bread in front of her. Whispers rose around her. The campaign had nearly succeeded, so why did His Majesty agree to a truce for the sake of a murderer? What is His Majesty thinking? I heard the princess betrayed him. Is he planning to punish her? Maybe. That might put His Majesty at ease. After all, His Majesty was only a prince who lived in an enemy nation for 5 years. Then he was imprisoned and sold off. Does His Majesty still care about her? They were childhood friends, right? Don't you know? His Majesty's marriage has already been arranged. What? Finley is going to marry Princess Bethany. What does she look like? A sharp ache struck Rowena's heart. When I see him again, what am I supposed to do? Under the night sky, the military camp was unusually quiet. Finley dismounted and walked over in silence. Kofi knelt on one knee. Your Majesty, Finley spoke. Escort the princess back to her quarters. There is no need to bring her before me. Kofi answered stiffly. Understood. I will have someone look after her. Finley said coldly. There is no need to treat a hostage kindly. I do not care what becomes of her. In a nighttime camp, a soldier shouted loudly. The commander has returned. Kofi stopped. The soldiers nearby all turned to look at him. Rowena sat at the table and looked up toward the doorway. Sir Kofi. Kofi's sharp gaze swept over the food on the table. There is no poison in the meal. You cannot waste food. Otherwise, His Majesty's mercy will have been for nothing. Rowena smiled faintly and explained, I'm not suspicious. I just have no appetite. I was kept like a stray dog for 5 years. The only thing I could eat was moldy bread. Sir Kofi, will I be able to see Finley in the capital? My stomach is already ruined. Even if I eat, I'm sure I'll throw it up again. As long as I don't starve to death. That will be enough. Kofi said, Your Highness, Rowena answered. Yes? Kofi explained, in our country, no one addresses His Majesty by name. Forget the past as soon as possible. Rowena said weakly, Understood. You're right. Do you think coming to Osborne means escaping hell? This is not a forgiving place. Without His Majesty's protection, it is nothing but a vast prison. You must live quietly. Do not walk into your own ruin. Peace will not come to you. Rowena lifted her face, calm and composed. I will remember my place. Kofi's pupils shrank sharply. The journey would continue. Please eat, then rest early. Kofi thought, Are you forcing yourself to smile? Rowena steadied herself. All right. Kofi's voice was icy. Your Highness, His Majesty will not come to see you. Stop thinking about it. Rowena nodded in response, still smiling. After Kofi left, Rowena let out a long breath. Exhausted, she lay down. The soft velvet cushions, the food. All of it. I had missed so much. It was all thanks to Finley. I should be grateful. I got out of that foul, rotting dungeon. But Rowena clutched at her chest tightly. Finley, why did you push me away? Tears slid from the corners of Rowena's eyes. It hurts. Weakly, She curled into herself. It felt as though there were a hole in her heart. The shadows of the trees flickered as light filtered through the leaves. Rowena stepped onto the carriage. Kofi called out, "We are about to depart." Chesterton, Sir Kofi, they all kept telling me I had to understand that Finley's position and mine had completely changed over those 5 years. At the time, all I wanted was for him to return to his own country no matter what, and reclaim his title as prince. Back then, Finley had pleaded with me, "I want to stay by your side. I don't want to go back." Rowena had pretended to be cold. "Archduke Schubert has come to take you." Finley demanded of Rowena, "Why won't you understand my heart? There will never be another chance like this." In the end, he climbed to where he is by himself. Everything I did must have seemed like nothing but betrayal to him. Rowena asked, "Then why did he save me?" Kofi's gaze swept over her. "So, after thinking all night, you finally understood your situation. Good. That way, even in a foreign land, you'll be able to survive on your own." Kofi rode away on horseback, the carriage following behind. Rowena stared at his retreating back, her eyes empty. Kofi's figure vanished into the morning mist, resolute without ever looking back. 15 years earlier, Rhodes Walker, the former commander of the Knights and Kofi's father, stood before an ornate carriage. "Your Highness, please come down." The young Finley, with long black hair, pushed open the door and stepped out. Finley asked, "Mr. Rhodes, can you escort me into the castle?" Rhodes refused. "I'm sorry, Your Highness. That is not my duty." A white-haired man spoke up. "Prince Finley, I am Jules Garcia, a lord of the Bayonet Empire. I will take you to see His Majesty the Emperor." Finley said in disappointment, "All right, Your Majesty, this is a personal letter sent by the Emperor of the Osborne Empire to King Crawford of the Bayonet Empire. Emperor Crawford Celeste of the Bayonet Empire. I present to you my son, Finley Huntington, to strengthen the friendship between our two nations. Selling off his own son for the sake of harbor trade. Huh, what a fine father. He looks as though he might cry at any moment. How pitiful." The young Rowena asked her father, "Who is that big sister?" The emperor laughed and said, "That's not a big sister. It's a big brother. He'll be staying with us for a while." "Oh, all right." Rowena let go of Chesterton's hand. Chesterton asked in confusion, "Rowena, where are you going?" Rowena walked toward Finley. "Big brother." Finley looked at Rowena. "I'm Rowena. People call me Romy. What's your name?" Finley shyly replied, I'm Finley Huntington." Rowena praised him sincerely. "You're so pretty. Just like a delicate doll. Let's play together." The young Finley looked at the blonde girl before him. "You look more like a doll." Finley smiled slightly. "All right." He took her hand, and the two of them walked side by side toward the brilliant light. The timeline returns to the present. Finley opened the locket. Inside was a portrait of Rowena. Gazing at it, Finley said, "I've repaid every debt I owed. From now on, you'll have to rely on yourself. We've arrived." The coachman's voice came from outside. "Please step down," looking at the house before her. Rowena got out of the carriage expressionlessly. Kofi said, "By the Emperor's order, I must return to the capital." Rowena said, "Thank you, Sir Kofi." Kofi looked at the woman, pretending to be strong. After a moment of silence, he said, "It is my duty." The soldiers carried in her luggage and went inside with Rowena. Kofi observed her. She looked extremely obedient. Fine, that's for the best. He was satisfied with the current state of things. It was the wise choice. A soldier handed Rowena a box. "The keys and 3-month stipend are inside. Please accept it. Then, this is where we part." Rowena took the box and thanked him. "Thank you. You've helped me a great deal." Watching them all leave, Rowena finally showed her true feelings. A stipend and keys? This must also be His Majesty's grace. 2 people sat on a tree branch. Mission complete. Return to base. The long-haired man asked, "Does he really intend to have the princess live here?" The short-haired man replied, "This is already quite good. Better than a prison, isn't it?" Night shrouded the house in the Boland territory. "That's quite far away," the long-haired man said. "Indeed. For His Majesty to make the princess live in a house like this, he must truly hate her." Holding a teacup, Sir Winton said with disdain, "You are both too naive." Sir Winton set down his teacup. The saucer touched the rim with a crisp sound. The short-haired man asked, "Sir Winton, won't her plan backfire? Presenting a criminal to His Majesty is hardly a good idea." Sir Winton walked over to the window. "That criminal is nothing more than rumor. There's a detached palace in Bolent. There must be a reason he had her stay there. The short-haired man lowered his head, thinking, His Majesty must be very lonely to say something like that. Sir Winton spread his hands. For one insignificant princess, would he really mobilize the knights and expend that much manpower and money? The army even set out. I thought we were going to war. He continued his analysis. It is merely because His Majesty is shy that he dares not go see her himself. Sir Winton tilted his head slightly. The Emperor and the Princess were childhood sweethearts. They grew up together. I have investigated it thoroughly. This is not simple hatred. It is hatred born of love. He spread his arms wide, fanatic light flashing in his eyes. His Majesty's love for the princess runs deeper than anyone can imagine. The long-haired and short-haired men exchanged glances. Utter nonsense. Sir Winton clapped his hands smugly. All right. Tonight, we act according to plan. As the night deepened, Rowena stood by the window. Hidden among the branches, two men lay in wait. She's sleeping soundly. The long-haired man asked, Boss, will His Majesty really be pleased? Have you ever seen His Majesty smile happily? No, the short-haired man was uneasy. That greedy Sir Winton is monopolizing this job. He said it would be easy to secure exclusive rights. We're just hired help. If anything happens, Sir Winton will take responsibility. Once we get the reward, we'll disappear immediately, just in case. The sleeping drug should take effect soon. Let's go. A dagger slipped through the crack in the window, and a hand gently pushed it open. The two men quietly climbed inside. Moonlight streamed through the window, falling over Rowena's sleeping face. A man's voice sounded in the darkness. Princess, please forgive me. In the palace, the moonlight was cold, and the outlines of the buildings were sharp as blades. Hilda, carrying a set of red clothing, walked solemnly toward the bath chamber. In the steamy pool, Finley rose from the water. Droplets slid down his broad back. Hilda carefully dressed Finley and dried his body. Finley ordered, Wake me early tomorrow, Hilda. You may leave. Hilda accepted the order. Yes, Your Majesty. With her hands folded before her, Hilda bowed and withdrew. The tips of Finley's hair were still dripping with water as he pushed open the door to his bedchamber. He froze. Who is this? He raised his sword. The blade flashed past Rowena's face. The moment he saw who had collapsed there, his pupils widened sharply. Under the effects of the sleeping drug, Rowena had fallen into a deep sleep, still holding the sword. Finley looked at the uninvited guest with a complicated expression. Then he threw the sword aside and crouched down beside Rowena. Looking at her sleeping face, the feelings he had forced down for so long seemed to ignite once more. Roni, he reached out, wanted to touch her. But in the next instant, he seemed to foresee the harm that would come if he did. At that thought, Finley abruptly withdrew his hand, suppressing his heart once more. Several hours later, Rowena opened her eyes in confusion. Seeing the unfamiliar surroundings, she suddenly realized something. She sat bolt upright. Finley was seated nearby, staring at her for who knew how long. Rowena came fully awake and blurted out instinctively, Brother. Finley's expression darkened as he looked away. Realizing her slip of the tongue, Rowena hurriedly corrected herself. Your Majesty, Finley said coldly. Princess. He rose and walked toward Rowena, stopping while there was still some distance between them. The two fell into an awkward silence, having not seen each other for so long. Rowena was the first to break it. I apologize. Finley froze for a moment. Rowena moved to get off the bed. Why? Why am I in Your Majesty's bedchamber? I never intended to disturb your rest. Please forgive me. The pressure around Finley suddenly turned cold and heavy. That's not what I wanted to hear. Did you want to see me that badly? Do you think our relationship is still the same as it was in the past? If you embrace me first, would I embrace you too? Or would you push me away again? Rowena stared blankly at him. Lowering her head, she said, No, that's not what I meant. Because of my shallowness, you've changed. If you misunderstand me, then I have nothing to say. Finley folded his arms. I don't know who brought you here, but for a princess of a nation to use a scheme like this, Rowena said, if insulting me makes you feel better, Finley. Brother. Finley's gaze turned icy. Don't call me brother. It makes me sick. Rowena apologized. Please forgive me. I should have remembered Sir Kofi's advice. Just hearing his name, I had unintentionally clung to the faintest sliver of hope. Finley let out a cold snort. Step by step, he closed the distance between them. Do you think that if you pretend to be weak, I'll soften? Finley seized Rowena by the chin, forcing her face close to his. You disappoint me. 5 years in prison. Taught you nothing. Finley suddenly let go. Caught completely off guard, she fell back onto the bed, staring at him with empty eyes. Finley looked down at Rowena. There is no trace left of Bene's heart in you anymore. Roni, you've lost everything, just as I once did. When someone is about to drown, they should struggle desperately to survive. Stop being so stubborn. Bending down, Finley stared at her. Say something. Rowena's gaze was hollow. What am I supposed to say? He already hates me. A little more won't matter. I am tired. A cruel smile curled at Finley's lips. For old time's sake, I can grant any wish you have. I can even give you all the love you long for. During those miserable 10 years, you were the only one who called me brother, the only one who treated me like a human being. Wasn't that so? Rowena did not respond to his words. She only repeated, I'm tired. Ignoring her, Finley continued, I can't even make you the most exalted lady in my empire. The scene before her overlapped with the dungeon of the past. If you wish it, I will give you everything you want. Honor, wealth, and the love of the people. I will return all that you lost. Rowena interrupted him. Your Majesty, you have already conquered me. What is it you still want from me? Finley froze. What? You should treat me as a stain upon your life and ignore me forever. I truly have no intention of bringing up the past. Even if I have become a shameful person, even if I hurt all of you in the past, hasn't the punishment I've received been enough? Rowena withdrew from Finley's grasp. Being able to leave prison at all is already a blessing. I will remember His Majesty's grace for the rest of my life. Her smile was flawless, like a mask. Her lips curved upward, yet there was no warmth in her eyes. Rowena's gaze was cold. If your Majesty has no further business with me, I will take my leave. Barefoot, Rowena stepped down from the bed. Finley silently watched her every movement. Lifting her skirt, Rowena gave Finley a formal bow. Then she turned and walked away. Without saying a word, Finley sat on the bed, where Rowena's warmth still lingered. He covered his face in frustration. What on earth am I doing? Rowena walked barefoot across the carpet. Everyone around her stared in shock. A woman had just come out of His Majesty's room. Hilda silently watched Rowena. Once she reached a deserted place, Rowena braced herself against the wall and slowly sank to her knees. She wept soundlessly. I'm such a fool. Hilda sighed. She knocked on Finley's door. Your Majesty, have you retired? Finley opened the door a crack, revealing firm abdominal muscles. What is it? I will escort the princess. Finley fell silent. Lowering her head respectfully, Hilda replied, Many knights are watching. If anything happens to the princess and word reaches the old nobles, your Majesty's position may be threatened. Finley clenched his fist. I leave it to you. The door slammed shut. Hilda let out a sigh. She turned and walked down the corridor. 5 years had turned us into strangers. You were once like the blazing sun. Whether then or now, you were always so skilled at hurting me. So close, yet utterly out of reach. I reject your confession. Did you really think a princess would choose a hostage? My engagement to Duke Norris has already been settled. I'm sorry if I misled you. I'm doing perfectly well without you. I was hurt again and again, and even so, I still dragged you back from hell. All I wanted was for you to lower your head and admit your mistakes. Finley pressed a hand to his forehead. How can I make you kneel? As Rowena turned to leave, a voice called from the bottom of the stairs. Princess Rowena, please wait. Rowena looked Hilda over. Who are you? Hilda pressed a hand to her chest slightly. I'm the palace maid, Hilda. Rowena bowed. Lady Hilda, good evening. Hilda, wasn't she not my brother's nursemaid, but His Majesty's? Her appearance was stern, yet her voice was gentle. Rowena remembered, Mother was too ill to raise me, so nursemaid Hilda stayed by my side the whole time. I wonder if she's been well. We will meet again someday. Yes, that's right. Repeating it to herself over and over like a kind of self-hypnosis, as though saying it enough times could turn a lie into reality. Hilda raised her head. His Majesty ordered me to escort you. Rowena froze in surprise. In her understanding, that should have been impossible. Hilda crouched and slipped shoes onto Rowena's bare feet. His Majesty prepared these for you. They may be a little too large. Please forgive that. Once Rowena had put on the shoes, she said, Thank you very much. Puzzled, Rowena asked, Lady Hilda, why would His Majesty do such a thing? It was simply his instruction. I clearly rejected him. Why would he still do this? Hilda's expression remained calm. After His Majesty returned to his country, he went through a difficult time, so he can be somewhat impatient. A difficult time. I went through difficult times too. Can one person's suffering really be compared to another's? I don't understand him at all. He feels like a stranger. Hilda bowed slightly. Princess, please do not take it to heart. Rowena responded softly. All right. Just then, a carriage approached from afar. Rowena and Hilda silently watched it. I heard His Majesty personally purged his own family. All of this is my fault. I deserve the insults. Besides, I'm already used to being the outlet for other people's emotions. Hilda said, Princess, such things. The carriage drew nearer. A curly-haired man stepped out and smiled at Hilda. Lady Hilda, have you come to see me off? Hilda bowed slightly. Good evening, Earl Eli. Earl Eli looked at Rowena. Oh, and this is? Hilda answered. This is Princess Rowena. Earl Eli Frotze. Is that so? Rowena lowered her head without speaking. A cloak was gently draped over her shoulders. Earl Eli fastened the cloak for her. Why did you run out wearing only your nightclothes? Rowena looked up at him, confused. Earl Eli gently stroked her hair. Go home quickly. He smiled, his expression warm. Rowena lifted her eyes to him. Earl Eli turned to Hilda. Has His Majesty gone to bed? Hilda answered, probably not yet. Sil Ili Krineth. Haha, there's no way he can sleep. I came to deliver good news. Even though it's already past midnight, I rode here as fast as I could to report the victory. I'm still full of energy, so I don't care whether he's asleep or not. Hilda turned. Understood. The carriage is here. Escort the princess. Holding a bamboo lantern, Hilda walked alongside Rowena toward the carriage in the distance. Earl Eli was just that kind of person. Could he be called the very model of tirelessness? Even His Majesty found himself struggling to keep up with him. Hilda guided Rowena forward. This way, please. Princess, everything will be all right. Sweet dreams. Rowena forced a smile. You too. Good night. Hilda watched as the carriage disappeared into the distance. This winter looked as though it would be a long one. She turned and went back through the gate, her figure vanishing into the depths of the estate. In the forest under the night sky, a short-haired man said, Sir Winton's prediction was wrong. His companion, looking worn out, replied, Retreat. Let's go deliver this unfortunate news. We did as you instructed and separated those two. Yes, please don't worry. None of us were caught. Sitting in an armchair, Sir Winton said, Is that so? He lifted his teacup. We couldn't bring the two of them together. Then we'll try another method. He set the cup down, a smile curling at the corner of his mouth. The plan succeeded. The two men looked at each other in confusion. Succeeded? In what way? In the teacup on the table, a sugar cube sank into the liquid. With a soft clink, Sir Winton asked, Jamies, have you ever been in love? Jamies opened his mouth. Not yet. Beard. And you, Beard? Beard scratched his head. Are you going to introduce me to a girlfriend? I'm getting shy. Sir Winton said, Since the Emperor ascended the throne, have you ever heard of a woman coming out of His Majesty's bedroom? And Hilda even saw her off. Jamies and Beard answered together, Of course not. This is unprecedented. Duke Winton moved behind the two of them. In other words, the princess must be someone special to His Majesty. After hearing that, the two looked even more confused. Jamies asked, but the princess looked downcast. I'm sure she must have heard some bad news. Didn't His Majesty spare her only because she's a princess from another nation? Duke Winton shook his index finger. No, no, no. The deeper the hatred, the deeper the love. That is the spice of crazy love. I have abundant experience in this field, so much that this has become my specialty. Duke Winton burst into laughter. Princess Rowena is a lucky star. The trade monopoly will be mine. The two men muttered. Looks like the plan failed. The blow must have driven him mad. Don't say that. What if we don't get the bonus? Duke Winton said, We'll continue to watch closely. If necessary, protect the princess. Let's wait for the next opportunity. The two men looked speechless. By full daylight, Rowena had tied on an apron. She put on a hat. Preparations complete. Taking up a broom from the backyard, she decided to start with cleaning. I still need to save money. Once I settle my own affairs, I'll look for work. Leaving this place will require both money and connections. No matter what, I have to let the people of Bayonet know the truth. I have to clear my name. She began sweeping vigorously, kicking up dust everywhere. As she wiped the candlestick, she murmured, "Father, Mother, I haven't lost heart. Please be proud of me." A voice came from outside the window. "Excuse me." Rowena looked over. "Who is it?" A boy was standing at the door, holding a basket in both hands. Backlit by the sun, Rowena opened the door. The boy said shyly, "My mother told me to give this to you." Blushing, the boy held out a small basket with both hands, avoiding her gaze. Rowena looked at the apples inside. "For me?" The boy handed the basket to her. "Yes, for you, Rowena." "I see. Thank you." The boy turned and ran off. Standing on the porch, Rowena watched his retreating figure. "Neighbors, huh? I'll thank them once I finish cleaning." The sound of hoofbeats rang out above Rowena. One of the knights looked down toward Rowena's house. "Isn't that Princess Rowena? Last night, I saw her standing at the castle gate in her night clothes. I was worried she'd catch cold." Kofi murmured, "In her night clothes." Finley followed his gaze toward Rowena. She was standing there alone, looking somewhat lonely. As if sensing something, she lifted her head and looked up. Her gaze passed through the crowd and landed on Finley. He was speaking with someone else, a false smile hanging at the corner of his lips. Kofi thought, "You chose this route to the annex on purpose, didn't you?" Kofi recalled what had happened before. Finley, face dark, had said, "Thanks to your escorting the princess, you managed to keep your position. Thank you." Kofi then realized that Finley had actually been angry. "Sel ili noticed binlies natse." He raised a sly smile. "Your Majesty, I just remembered an errand." Finley called out, clearly puzzled. "Eli." "Earl," Eli said, "guard His Majesty closely." Kofi inwardly complained, "His Majesty doesn't need my escort. His gaze alone is about to pierce me to death." Earl Eli said with a smile, "I'll catch up soon. Don't worry." Finley said, "Kofi, let's go." Kofi replied stiffly, "Yes, Your Majesty." Holding his horse's reins, Earl Eli waved with a smile. "See you later." After everyone left, Eli came to Rowena's residence. "Sir Ili Dovid Loitlu." "Your Highness, did you sleep well last night?" Holding the fruit basket in one hand, Rowena lifted the side of her skirt with the other. "Sir Eli, I'm grateful for your concern, but I am no longer a princess. Please call me by my name, Rowena or Roni. Either is fine," Sir Eli said. "Then from now on, I'll call you Roni. The Boland Royal Palace will be holding a banquet. Here, take this." Rowena refused. "With my current status, I cannot attend a banquet." Sir Eli said, "If you don't come, then I suppose I'll be lending you that cloak forever." Rowena said, "I'll go get it right away." Earl Eli interrupted her. "I have a great deal of work today. I'm in a hurry." He set the letter on top of the fruit basket. "That cloak is what I wore when I declared victory." Sir Eli swung up onto his horse. "Bring it to me yourself and return it properly. That's the correct etiquette, isn't it? I'll be waiting for you." At a loss, Rowena stared at the letter. Earl Eli caught up with the soldiers. "I'm back." Finley showed little reaction. Sir Eli asked, "Your Majesty, what color dress do you think would suit Roni? White, perhaps? It would complement her blonde hair." Finley's face darkened. "Roni, should I give her a necklace as well? It would go nicely with those star-like eyes of hers." Finley tightened his grip on the reins. "I hear you often used to make flower crowns for Roni when you were young." Eli looked positively enchanted. Roni must have been adorable as a child, too. Even after all she suffered, her beauty is like a doll's. Kofi looked at Finley's darkening face and thought, "Sir Eli, you're going to get killed. Stop talking. And calling the princess by her nickname already. Isn't that a little too fast?" Finley's expression sank. "Roni," Sir Eli continued chattering. "Everyone says Your Majesty hates Roni, but you don't understand jealousy, do you? She reminds me of my younger sister, who's about the same age. Speaking of which, I've been looking for a spouse lately." Finley yanked hard on the reins. The temperature around him seemed to drop below freezing. "Sir Eli, are you very idle?" Sir Eli, seeming not to notice at all, replied, "Being captivated by an elegant and lovely princess is a knight's duty. Besides, after such an overwhelming victory, I really am free. Is there anything you need my help with?" Finley said, "Do as you please." The group rode back to the palace. Finley walked on in silence, while Sir Eli spread his arms as if proclaiming victory. Kofi looked skeptical. "Seriously?" Night fell. A black gift box was opened. Inside were a dress, jewelry, and a letter. Looking at the things that had been sent, Rowena remembered the past. The last time I danced was on my 15th birthday. It feels like so long ago. Thinking back, Chesterton wasn't there that day. Rowena carefully placed everything back inside the box and put it away. He really lent me a cloak and even sent a dress. I only met him a few days ago. Lying in the soft bed, Rowena still felt unreal. Sir Eli is very straightforward, and he doesn't seem like a bad person. Do people who show kindness for no reason really exist in this world? I used to think everyone was kind because we were family. But the moment I felt even a little relieved, I remembered that it was my father who put me here. Now that I've lost everything, what am I supposed to do? Father. Mother. Rowena covered her eyes, tears sliding down her cheeks. Outside, two men listened to the sounds from within. Beard asked, "Is the princess crying?" The two exchanged glances. "Jamie's, maybe we should just go?" Yeah. The next day, Rowena still didn't wear the dress Sir Eli had given her. The boy walked up the stairs. "Ashilu." Rowena greeted him warmly. "Hello." The boy asked, "Are you going out?" Rowena nodded. "Yes." The boy pointed to one side. "Please don't take the small path. There are a lot of vagrants there." "Okay, I've said my piece." The boy immediately hurried off. Rowena thought, when I get back, I'll visit the McCollans. But if they knew I was Benet's prisoner, would they still speak to me like this? I'm getting pessimistic again. The villain is Chesterton. At the banquet hall, a lady said, "Tell my father. I'll be home late today." Father should understand, too. Letting a child grow up is inevitable. Or rather, once I'm married, I'll only be able to visit occasionally. The servant looked helpless. I'll persuade him. Standing amid the crowd, the woman basked in everyone's admiration. Since I dressed up so carefully today, that man will look at me, right? Let's celebrate. She thought, definitely. He'll be attracted to me. A black-haired woman looked on with hearts in her eyes. "Look, Mr. Eli. He's even more handsome than the last time I saw him." The pink-haired woman immediately turned around. "Oh my, he's there. He's coming this way." One woman covered her mouth in disbelief. "Good heavens. What should I do? Is he coming over here?" The pink-haired woman thought, "He must be wearing Sir Samir's new collection. It looks even better on him than on me. I've prepared for this day for so long. At last, I can get closer to Mr. Eli." Smiling brightly, the pink-haired woman stepped forward. "Eli." Sir Eli walked straight past her. The pink-haired woman was full of confusion. Why? With tears in her eyes, she stared at the man she adored, unable to understand why Sir Eli had passed her by. The black-haired woman asked, "What's going on?" The blue-haired woman said, "This must be some misunderstanding." When they saw Sir Eli walk toward Rowena, alarm bells rang in the pink-haired woman's head. Who was that woman? Rowena handed the cloak to Eli. "I came to return this." Eli thanked her. "Thank you. Sorry for the trouble." He thought, Roni didn't wear the dress I gave her, so she really doesn't like banquets. The pink-haired woman's face darkened. "I dressed up so beautifully, and yet I was still ignored." People nearby began whispering. "Oh, is that Benet's princess?" "What, you know her?" The black-haired woman smiled and said, "My brother works with Commander Kofi. He heard what the princess looks like." The blue-haired woman lowered her head, disappointment on her face. "I see, but she's dressed so poorly." The black-haired woman said, "Really? It's surprising that His Majesty hasn't abandoned her. Was there really any need to spend money, state money, no less, to welcome her to our country? Look, she's already trying to seduce Earl Eli. She's the daughter of that woman who stole the Emperor's favor from the Empress. A cruel, despicable woman. She calmly murdered her own family." "Shoo, keep your voice down. Don't let her hear." The pink-haired woman thought, "So she's the legendary killer. Then Mr. Eli must only be teasing her under orders." Rowena lifted her skirt in a curtsy. "If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." Eli hurriedly caught her hand. "Wait." Rowena froze. The pink-haired woman was struck dumb. He grabbed that woman's hand? No way. It felt as though her whole world had sunk into gloom. "No one has ever held my hand." Holding on to Rowena, Eli said, "Roni, I have something important I want to discuss with you. Come with me." Rowena looked bewildered. "What is going on?" "I want to shake him off and go home, but he's so strong. I can't offend him, and I can't refuse his invitation either." Eli realized he had acted impulsively. If she thinks I'm a pervert, that'll be awful. Seeing how conspicuous she had become, Rowena felt uneasy. "Everyone is looking at me." The pink-haired woman's fighting spirit flared up. "I won't lose. As the noble young lady of the Dreiser family, I'm the one who deserves him." Women of the Dreiser family always get what they want. Fallen princess of an enemy nation, prepare for death. Kofi stepped down from the carriage. Your Majesty, we've arrived. Finley had dressed with care. He wore garments symbolic of imperial authority. The moment people saw Finley, they bowed at once. His very presence alone could freeze the entire place. Then Finley suddenly noticed Sir Eli walking ahead while holding Rowena's hand. His attention fixed on it. Eli was actually holding Rowena's hand. The two of them even seemed to be talking. Finley's expression darkened at once. A vein throbbed faintly on his forehead. Eli led Rowena into a corner. What I'm about to say is very important. Rowena looked puzzled. Oh, all right, please go ahead. Actually, Your Highness. Kofi came before the two of them, interrupting him. Forgive me, Sir Eli. His Majesty is waiting for you on the second floor. Eli said, I'll go after I finish talking with Roni. Kofi continued relaying the order. No, His Majesty said you are to come now. Eli gave in. All right, looking at Rowena, he said, don't go home before I come back. Rowena replied stiffly. All right, she thought, does Sir Eli really want to talk to me that badly? Kofi turned to Rowena. Princess Rowena, if you don't mind, could we talk in another room? Rowena nodded. All right, I don't mind. Rowena followed Kofi. Watching the two of them, the pink-haired woman thought, this fallen princess really is quite the temptress. Then she stepped after them. A wicked idea had already formed in her mind. Mr. Eli, I'll show you this woman's true face. This way, princess. Kofi opened the door and let Rowena go in. Your Highness, please wait inside. Rowena looked confused. All right. Watching Kofi turn and leave, Rowena asked, Sir Kofi, didn't you say you had something to discuss with me? Kofi gave no answer and left at once. Rowena thought, I know I'm disliked, but being ignored like this still surprises me. Though maybe, unexpectedly, it's not so bad. Have I become stronger? What exactly did he want to talk about? This must be another warning, telling me to remember my place. Rowena ran her hand over the chair. Thanks to Chesterton and his lackeys, I've learned to read the room. I'm no longer that naive, foolish princess, but someone at least a little wiser. Got it. The pink-haired woman walked through the corridor, irritation on her face. Damn it, which architect designed this place? These halls are far too winding. Where did they go? Suddenly, the pink-haired woman caught sight of a figure. There, that's her. The pink-haired woman hurried after her. So you took the long way around to shake me off? Not a chance. She really went in. Just as I thought, a secret rendezvous. That woman is even seducing Sir Kofi. The pink-haired woman ground her teeth. I'll never forgive her. I have to let Lord Eli see just how shameless she really is. Ha. I absolutely cannot tolerate that vixen. I'm going to expose her. Why is His Majesty here? Rowena was startled inside. She hurriedly rose and lifted her skirt. Your Majesty. Finley asked, are you that disappointed in me? Finley thought, why? Why do you look so worn out from the moment you see me? When that boy handed you the basket, you looked happy, didn't you? Rowena protested. No. Sir Kofi only said he had something to discuss with me. Rowena thought in confusion. Didn't we settle things that night already? Finley said, it was I who summoned you. Rowena asked, what is it that you want? Finley stepped closer, looking down at Rowena. Today, I want to talk with you properly. Finley thought, you look too thin. Did Chesterton not take care of you? Turning her head away, Rowena asked, what do you want to talk about? Rowena thought, you went to the trouble of having someone call me here. What is it you really want? Should I tell him why I pushed him away back then? Finley asked, what is your relationship with Eli? Rowena was taken aback. W, what are you talking about? Finley pressed closer. He called you Roni in front of me. He gave you an invitation. Since when have you two become so close? Rowena stepped back. Why? I didn't know we could still talk about the past, but I never thought I'd be suspected like this. She remembered that night when she had inexplicably ended up in Finley's bedroom, and Finley had coldly accused her. A princess of a nation, and yet you resort to such cheap tactics? You think I'll pity you just because you pretend to be pitiful? That was 5 years ago. Mind your place. That night had been the same. Even before that, he had looked at me with those cold eyes. There was no escaping it. Anyone who saw me back then would think I was a despicable woman. No matter what I said, he probably wouldn't believe me. Finley pressed her. Roni, are you trying to avoid the question by staying silent? Inwardly, Finley cried out, I want to see you argue with me the way you used to. Brother Finley, I just had tea with Norris. You meddle too much. I'm not 5 years old anymore. I can handle my own affairs. Back then, Finley had relented. At least tell me first. I worry about you. But the Rowena before him now only lowered her head emptily. She neither fled nor answered. Finley slammed his hand down hard on the chair. As the king of Osborne, I order you to tell me, what is your relationship with Eli? Rowena grew angry. That is none of your majesty's concern. Why are you trying to control me? What Rowena held back from saying was, the reason I pushed you away was so you would no longer remain a hostage. No matter how deeply I was misunderstood, I endured it. Finley said, you say it's none of my concern? Then have you forgotten who saved you? Rowena refused to yield. I have never forgotten your majesty's mercy, but I have never once asked for your help. Must I tell you everything about my life? Finley seized Rowena by the shoulders. Roni, the words you said 5 years ago, did you mean them? Rowena was furious. Yes, your majesty. Insulting you, mocking you, ridiculing you. Every bit of it came from my true feelings. A wicked woman ought to be punished, isn't that right? If 5 years of imprisonment wasn't enough, then punish me yourself. Finley fell silent. Tears welled in Rowena's eyes. Have you vented enough? Are you satisfied now? Finley removed his hands from Rowena's shoulders. Eli is the finest knight in my kingdom, and you are Bene's princess. I only wanted to confirm whether you had compromised his loyalty to me. Rowena sank onto the sofa. Your majesty, please let me go. Quietly, she pressed a hand to her stomach. It was starting to ache. Rowena got up and walked toward the door. Rest assured, I have neither the courage nor the inclination to get involved in any romance. Rowena gripped the doorknob, only to find it wouldn't open. Did you have Sir Kofi lock the door? Finley looked puzzled. What? Rowena clutched her stomach. It hurt more and more. She couldn't catch her breath either. Finley came over to try. Looks like something is jammed in the door. Kofi will be back soon. Roni. Finley's eyes widened. Grinding her teeth and clutching her stomach, Rowena collapsed to the floor. She lost consciousness. I once believed that if I only found the right words, everyone would believe me. Then the maid's expression turned contemptuous. Honestly, you should know your place. After enjoying more than 10 years of shameless luxury, the maid yanked Rowena by her golden hair. I really didn't kill her. Please believe me. In the dark prison cell, the inmates jeered from outside. Mongrel, bark for us like a dog. Come on, bark. I was once a bird in a cage, my wings broken, never even noticing malice. I once lived in the illusion of love, under the protection of my parents, through the passing seasons. Hope was meaningless. Not as a princess, but as an ordinary person, I learned to struggle. To survive. Finley stared at Roni in shock. Rowena clutched her stomach, her forehead covered in fine cold sweat. Then she completely lost consciousness and collapsed to the floor, unconscious. Finley cried out in anguish. Roni. He rushed to Rowena's side. Holding her, he said, What's wrong with you? Open your eyes. Wake up, Roni. An unhealthy flush spread across Rowena's face. The pink-haired woman came running in. Mr. Eli. Looking at Eli with delight, she said, Wonderful. Mr. Eli, my name is Lydia Dreiser. Eli looked confused, but politely greeted her. Miss Lydia, pleased to meet you. Lydia smiled. There's something I want to show you. Would you come with me? Eli looked puzzled. Something you want to show me? Lydia replied with a smile. Yes. Raising a finger, Lydia said, It concerns Princess Rowena. Lydia led the way cheerfully. She thought, I'll show him that woman's true face. If he gets hurt, I'll comfort him. He can only be mine. Eli thought, does Roni know someone from the Dreiser family? Finley, frantic, wondered why won't it open. He tugged hard at the doorknob and pushed back and forth, trying again and again, but still would not budge. In agitation, he pounded on the door. Is anyone outside? Open it. Sweating profusely, he looked at Rowena. His coat had been draped over her, and her face was covered in sweat. Finley crouched down and touched her forehead. She's burning up. A cheerful female voice came from outside. It's right here. With her hands on her hips, Lydia confidently said, I stabbed a dagger in here, so she couldn't escape. Then Lydia removed the dagger. Excitedly, she said, Mr. Eli, take a good look at how this precious, noble status of hers has been ruined by her own actions. But when the door opened, the one before her was Emperor Finley. At that moment, Finley's expression was dark to the extreme. Lydia was stunned. What? Your Majesty? Why isn't it Kofi? How did it become His Majesty? What do I do? The Dreiser family is already bankrupt. Finley picked Rowena up, coldly sweeping past the two of them. He ordered, Call a doctor. Eli answered, Yes, Your Majesty. Lydia tried to bury herself. as if hiding might make her disappear. Her thoughts ran wild. Kofi, I'm not wrong. How could I possibly be wrong? Is it still possible to run away tonight? I actually locked his majesty inside. I am doomed. Eli looked at Finley and laughed softly. I knew it. That night, inside the palace, Finley reached out and touched Rowena's face. As if shocked by electricity, he abruptly pulled his hand back. There was a knock at the door. Finley went over and opened it, then quietly shut it again. Rowena opened her eyes. She sat up, holding her head. She looked around the room in confusion. I remember the door wouldn't open. Then my stomach suddenly started hurting, and I think I fainted. My throat is so dry. I want some water. The doctor was giving a report. She needs plenty of rest and careful dietary management. Finley listened quietly. Understood. The moment Rowena opened the door, that was the scene she saw. Why does Finley look so pale? Finley said, "You may go." The doctor bowed. "Yes, Your Majesty." Roni. Without warning, Finley placed a hand around Rowena's waist and suddenly swept her up into his arms. Rowena struggled. "I can walk on my own. Please put me down." Why is he suddenly acting like this? Rowena could not understand at all. As she struggled in Finley's arms, she pleaded, "Please let me go. If someone sees this, they'll get the wrong idea." Finley carried her to the bedside. And what exactly would be the problem? Worry filled Rowena's eyes. "Don't you have a fiancé? This will cause trouble for you." Finley's profile was cold and sharp. "I'm not engaged. You were unconscious for 2 days. Your fever only just went down." Rowena's eyes trembled. "Is that so? He isn't engaged." Finley asked, "Where did you hear that?" Lowering her eyes, Rowena said, "Then I must have heard wrong." His aura had softened a great deal now. Could it be that he's simply quick-tempered? Finley said, "Forget that for now. I'll tell you when the time is right. Once you recover, I'll send you home to rest properly. I'll come to see you again tomorrow." Rowena looked at him. "I've already recovered. It was only a slight fever. I can heal on my own." Finley stopped in his tracks. "Why do you keep refusing my help? Why do you think I rescued you from Bayonet?" Rowena lowered her head. "I don't know. Most of your suffering was my fault. If you wanted revenge, I wouldn't be so confused. Your harshness and your kindness, I can't bear them." Finley looked at her. "Don't you understand?" Rowena said, "I am very grateful that you saved me, but I'm troubled. I can't understand what you're thinking, and my mind is full of Bayonet. I can't think about anything else." Finley lifted his eyes. "Roni, if that's the case, then let's make a deal." Rowena looked up in surprise. "A deal?" Finley remembered the doctor's words. Her Highness is suffering from fever and severe gastritis. Without nutritional management, it may worsen into a stomach ulcer. I still don't know what happened to you. How am I supposed to repay the debt I owe you for protecting me years ago? Looking at her, Finley said each word distinctly. "You want revenge on Chesterton and those others, don't you? But what can you do in your current state?" Rowena froze. She thought, Finley believes me now? Finley continued, "Roni, you are too gentle. In a world where the strong devour the weak, unless you become a fierce beast." Rowena thought, "As long as I'm alive, I believe I can still change things." Finley's hand touched Rowena's lips. "Why not make use of me?" Rowena was bewildered. What happened while I was asleep for those 2 days? He seems like a completely different person." Finley fell silent. He knew that if he told Roni his suspicions directly, it might wound her pride. Is this really a good idea? Finley withdrew his hand and slowly sat down. "I'll ask again. Do you truly desire revenge?" Folding his arms, Finley said, "If you promise to inherit the throne and sign a non-aggression treaty, then I will support your return to Bayonet. That way, she could preserve her dignity. So that's the real reason you suddenly started being kind to me." Lowering her gaze, Rowena thought, "How clever." Rowena said, "Please give me some time to think it over." Finley agreed. "Of course." Finley led Rowena to the dining table. Holding a document in his hand, he looked on. Rowena looked at the feast laid out before her, but had no idea what to eat. Silently, she scanned the dishes on the table. There were so many that it was dazzling. After looking around, Rowena noticed a bowl of soup. Finley noticed what she was doing. He smiled at Rowena. Rowena thought, that look in his eyes, that smile. He must really want me to finish eating before he kills me. She lifted the drink before her and took a sip. "When I have nothing left, what am I supposed to do? I want to go home." "But that's impossible." Lydia's cheeks flushed. "Should I go in? I'm still the daughter of a wealthy family." "You know," Eli examined her, then said, "But apologizing is only natural, isn't it?" Lydia stammered. "But back then, Mr. Kofi, All right. Tears welled at the corners of Lydia's eyes. I was only worried that you'd be tricked by that wicked woman, Eli. He scolded her. This is your fault. Stop crying. Through tears, Lydia demanded. Why are you being so mean? I've had enough. I hate you. Crying, Lydia ran off. Ili Ferozze. Hey, Hilda walked over. Mr. Eli, are you here to see His Majesty? Eli replied, yes. Lydia stepped on her skirt and tripped. Hilda recognized the girl. Isn't that the Count Dreiser's daughter? Ili nodded. Yes. Lying on the ground and crying, Lydia thought, I've embarrassed myself so badly in front of him. I'm such an idiot. Eli looked at her and sighed helplessly. Looking down at Lydia on the floor, he said, Miss Lydia. Lydia lay there and said, just leave me alone. Eli crouched down. After you apologize, would you like to go riding? Lydia jerked her head up. Really? Don't regret it. Her eyes shone with obvious delight. The table was filled with fine dishes. A figure came into view. Why does that girl look so nervous? Lydia noticed Rowena's gaze. Ah, she's looking at me. Hold it together. You absolutely have to hold it together. Eli whispered, Lydia, you can do it, right? If you don't apologize, there'll be no riding. Lydia struggled with herself internally. You have to endure this and lower your head. Summoning her courage, Lydia said, Princess, I treated you like an evil woman and locked you up. I'm willing to accept any punishment. I truly know I was wrong. Rowena was stunned. So that was it. Rowena soothed her. Many people call me a wicked woman. Please don't worry about it. Finley was in disbelief. Roni, a wicked woman? Looking at Lydia, Rowena said, Please raise your head. Princess, Lydia thought, she doesn't seem to be the kind of person I imagined. Indignantly, Lydia said to Eli, Everyone's talking nonsense, saying the princess is a murderer. Eli replied, It certainly is the topic of the day. Biting her finger, Lydia asked sympathetically, Even though she's such a forgiving, angelic person, she looks as though she's glowing with heavenly light. Patting her head, Eli asked then, What should we do about it? Lydia clenched her fists. I will never believe rumors, and I will never spread them. Eli thought approvingly. Well done. Hilda watched it all. The Earl seems livelier than usual. Finley set down the document. His gaze swept over the table. I hadn't prepared your dinner. Eli raised his wine glass with a broad grin. What a heartbreak. I've interrupted your dinner for two. Lydia's face turned pale. Is he testing me? Finley said leisurely. It's time to send Miss Lydia home. Eli said with a smile. I admire how indirect you're being. Rowena quietly ate, feeling awkward. Try what? This is so uncomfortable. A memory flashed back. In the woods, Rowena stood with her back to Finley. If I'm in the way, just say so. Chesterton wrapped his arms around her from behind. Rowena blushed. Do you really have to beat around the bush? I thought we were already close enough for that. The scene cut back to the dining hall. Hilda was pouring wine. Holding his wine glass, Finley asked, Didn't I just tell you to leave? Lydia grew frightened. His Majesty is angry. Forcing herself to stay composed, Lydia said, Mr. Eli, the riding. Lydia could no longer hold herself together. Crying, she asked, You said you'd take me riding. How much longer do I have to stay here? I really can't take it anymore. Eli said, All right, we'll go now. Lydia brightened. Finally, saved. The two rose and bowed. Your Majesty, we'll take our leave first. Looking at Finley's dark face, Lydia thought he's still terrifying. Let's go, let's go. Suddenly, Lydia stopped. Eli asked, puzzled, What is it? Lydia lifted her skirt and curtsied. Princess, would you be able to come to my family's tea party next week? Rowena pointed at herself and asked in disbelief, Are you talking to me? Rowena's gaze wavered. Seeing Lydia's excitement, Eli was rather baffled. Lydia threw an arm around Rowena from behind. I'm Lydia of the Dreiser family. Please take care of me. From today onward, we're friends. It had been a long time since Rowena had felt kindness from a stranger in this place, especially someone so eager to befriend her. Lydia trotted back over to Eli. Let's go. Ili long it. Not bad. Rowena looked puzzled. Friends? Waving his hand, Eli called out, Your Majesty, you really shouldn't be angry with Roni. I'll take my leave for today. Finley's expression darkened. Silence returned to the table. Rowena stared blankly toward the door. Lowering her head, Rowena sank into thought. Finley quietly watched her. Do I see my past self in Lydia? At 15, you were just as bright and cheerful. I always stayed by your side, guarding the brightest star. Now you are stained by darkness and dust. Perhaps you think you've been utterly ruined, but you do not know the loneliness I've endured for the past 5 years. Finley speared a piece of cake. Do you like sweets? I chased after your shadow and finally crawled my way out of hell. That is why, Rowena asked. Aren't you going to eat dinner? Finley smiled. I was working just now. Since I'm finished, I'll eat with you. Rowena picked up a piece of cake. All right, Rowena asked. May I go to Lydia's party? Hilda stood nearby, waiting. The doctor came in. Hilda led the doctor outside. Finley asked, Do you need me to accompany you? Rowena refused. No need. I'll be going home soon. Hilda and the doctor walked to a deserted spot. Hilda said, Doctor, let me see you out. Smiling, she added, thanks to Miss Lydia, they had a relatively relaxed and pleasant time. Hilda continued, I hope it can continue. I haven't seen His Majesty smile in a very long time. A knight hurried over. Lady Hilda, is His Majesty inside? Hilda answered, Yes, His Majesty is having dinner. The knight rushed forward. Excuse me, I'm in a hurry. Hilda looked puzzled. What happened? The knight knocked on the door. Your Majesty, there is urgent news. Finley opened the door. He looked at the knight coldly, displeased at being interrupted. What is it? The knight bowed and handed over the letter to Finley. I brought news from Bayonet. Finley asked, From Bayonet? The knight replied, Yes. Finley opened the envelope and took out the letter. He unfolded it to read. His face darkened at once. What? He gripped the paper tightly. His pupils suddenly constricted, and his knuckles turned white from the force. The edges of the letter crumpled. The paper was crushed into a ball in his hand. Finley's gaze sharpened. Damn it. Should I tell Roni? A letter was opened. After the emperor's death, the movement to enthrone a new ruler had already begun. A hand clenched the page so hard it made a harsh sound. Finley's eyes turned cold as he gave the order. Summon Finn and have him relay the message. The subordinate immediately bowed his head. Yes, sir. Rowena sat at the table, puzzled. Did something happen? Finley was holding a document in his hand. It was a confidential file. Is it related to the military? Finley looked at Rowena. Did she hear it? No. If she had, she would surely break down. Finley returned to the table and gently reminded her, You should eat more slowly. After you finish, I'll take you home. Rowena said, I'll take the prescribed medicine on time. I'll recover eventually. You don't need to make a special trip. Finley said, For the two of us to coexist peacefully, you must stay healthy. Rowena listened in silence. She lowered her head sadly. Finley said, Keep eating. Finley turned his face slightly, his gaze falling to the floor where the shredded letter lay. Should I tell her now? His Adam's apple bobbed. The words hesitated on his lips, but in the end he swallowed them back down. He only stared silently at those fragments. When Roni was slandered and belittled, the emperor did not protect her. In the end, that led to Roni's imprisonment and to her awaiting the empress's execution. Perhaps she resented him. Her imperial sister-in-law, the empress, had once been a knight. She had once saved the emperor's life on the battlefield. After the two married, Roni was born. Back then, the emperor had adored Roni very much. He often looked at her with indulgent affection. Young Roni had regarded the emperor as her entire world. The emperor would often lift Roni high into the air, while the empress watched the warm scene from the side. It seemed he had not married the empress for political reasons. Since the day I was born, I had never experienced even the slightest bit of parental love. I envied her deeply. To her, that warmth may have meant nothing, but to me it was a luxury. My father saw only the power behind my mother, and treated her as nothing more than a political wife. But when my mother's family declined, my father lost interest in her. I etched every one of those memories into my heart. The love of a family is a privilege reserved for the strong. But when Roni appeared before me, the shadows cleared. It was as if I were standing beneath warm sunlight. With her small hands, she picked up the shattered pieces of my heart. Brother Finley, you're spacing out again. I couldn't deceive her. At least now, I had to tell her. He pressed a hand to his chest. His gaze hesitated. Rowena asked, Did something happen to His Majesty? Your expression is frightening. Finley lowered his eyes. The emperor has passed away. Rowena's pupils contracted. She stared at him in disbelief. Her whole body trembled, as if struck by an invisible force. The whole world fell into darkness, leaving only her alone. Her hand shook as she gripped the knife and fork. Her entire body trembled, and the utensils slipped onto the plate. She covered her mouth. Tears slid down soundlessly. I still had so many things I wanted to say to you. Father, when Mother died, did your heart ache like mine does now? During the 5 years I was gone, were you in so much pain you couldn't sleep? After I left Bayonet, were you doing well? A figure draped in a red cloak stood on a meadow full of blooming flowers. That was the emperor in Rowena's memory. Why didn't you wait for me to come back before you left? I had so hoped you could live to see the heart of Bayonet you loved return. Rowena covered her face with both hands, sobbing in pain. What I regret isn't what I said, but the words I should have said and never managed to speak. Finley reached out and softly called, Roni. Finley placed a hand on Rowena's shoulder. Roni, startled, Finley froze as Rowena suddenly threw herself at him. Rowena collapsed into his arms, crying out in exhausted anguish. Brother Finley, Chesterton, and the Empress killed father. They took my parents away from me. They took everything. Finley silently looked down at the Rowena in his arms, emotions surging in his eyes. Buried against his chest, Rowena's tears soaked through his clothes. In her memory, the grand banquet hall had been ablaze with light. Everything had been beautiful as ever, only to vanish like a bubble in an instant. At last, Finley let down his guard. He embraced Rowena, as if holding a precious treasure he had found again. Finley said, They didn't steal your brilliance. You haven't lost anything. It's still by your side. Rowena froze. Then she shed her final disguise and buried herself in Finley's arms. She cried openly, her tears soaking Finley's chest. The carriage wheels rolled through the mud. Rain washed over the ruts, splashing muddy water everywhere. Hooves shattered puddles, and the wheel tracks were quickly filled with rain. Soon they vanished without a trace. Two knights in cloaks galloped through the rain. Inside the carriage, Rowena stared blankly outside. Finley spoke. This rain is really heavy. He lowered his eyes. It rained like this on the day you left Bayonet, too. Rowena clasped her fingers tightly and said nothing. She thought, it seems that after these 2 days in the annex, our relationship has eased a little. But Chesterton had worn no smile on his face. As he held an umbrella over Rowena, she had asked, Brother, is this really okay? Chesterton had answered firmly, Yes, you did well. This way, Finley can finally be free of his status as a hostage. Rowena gazed into the distance. Brother Finley. Finley rode away on horseback, disappearing beyond the end of the hill. Not once did he look back. That retreating figure was forever branded into Rowena's eyes. In 5 years, a person can change this much. What about Finley? Had he become a tyrant people feared? Or was he still the gentle brother who comforted me? The Finley who embraced me? Just which one is the real you? 5 years is enough to change a person. And I have become a hysterical woman. Rowena gave a self-mocking smile, her nails digging deep into her palm. How did things end up like this? Rowena sat quietly, her hands folded over her knees, her expression bleak. Finley placed his hand over Rowena's. Roni, don't be afraid. He gently squeezed her hand and pressed a kiss to the back of her left hand. A knight will never hurt his princess. Rowena blushed. Do you remember? I'm your knight. I swore my loyalty to you. I will never betray you. Brother Finley. Rowena's eyes filled with tears. I am sorry. It's all my fault. I was too foolish. I hurt my parents, my sister, and you. And many others as well. Finley held Rowena tightly. Choking on sobs, she said, I never even doubted Chesterton, and my actions caused everyone to suffer. Finley said, none of that is true. Don't forget, you were a victim too. Please don't blame yourself. I'm the fool. So it's true? You were engaged to Duke Norris. Rowena wiped her tears. It's true. Finley went still. But when I heard you had returned safely, I broke off the engagement. And I actually used that to hurt you. After that, he left the capital. He must hate me. I think I need a chance to apologize to him. Finley recalled what had happened before. He had grabbed Norris by the collar and demanded, You knew I liked Roni, and you still got engaged to her? Norris had replied indifferently, What a pity. It was this lady who fell for me first. Why don't you quietly return to your country? Finley thought with a headache. The Norris family are close confidants of the Emperor. They won't bow to Chesterton immediately. He will definitely try every possible way to win that family support. No matter what, I have to stop Norris from meeting Roni. The carriage slowly came to a stop. A subordinate said respectfully, We've arrived. Finley said, It's still pouring outside. Rowena looked at him in confusion. If you fall, it'll be dangerous. Blushing, Rowena turned her head away. Why not wait until the rain stops before going back? Let's go back after it stops. Finley replied, Good idea. Rain pattered against the window. A subordinate opened a black umbrella for Rowena. Watch your step. Rowena nodded. Yes. Finley took the umbrella handle. I'll hold it. The subordinate looked a little stunned, but still handed the umbrella to Finley. The two of them shared one umbrella and walked toward the residence in the distance. "Weren't you going to see Kofi? He can wait." Kofi sat on the sofa, holding a teacup. It had already been 2 hours. Beneath the umbrella, Rowena murmured, "It's too cramped." Finley stopped walking. "Don't worry. You go in first." He turned to face the subordinate behind them. "How long are you planning to follow me?" The subordinate jumped. He bent at the waist. "My stomach suddenly hurts." "Your Majesty, I'll take my leave first." He hurried away, not wanting to endure Finley's sharp gaze. Rowena asked, "What is it?" Finley answered, "Nothing. Someone just left in a hurry. That's all." Rowena tilted her head. Finley lowered his head. "It looks like we won't be going back tonight." He thought, it would be nice if this rain never stopped. Rowena glanced sideways out the window. "The rain still hasn't stopped. How are we supposed to get back?" "It looks like the carriage is gone too." Finley suddenly asked, "How did Chesterton treat you?" Rowena turned to him. "Why are you suddenly asking that?" Finley explained, "All the signs of your confinement are gone. I thought you had only been hidden away for protection, but I didn't expect that he had actually abused you." Rowena lowered her eyes. "So you know, Hilda told me, you have scars on your body." Rowena bowed her head. "It wasn't neglect. I was taken away directly by Chesterton himself. That man hurt me. I'll never understand how the brother I thought was kind could hurt me. But when I truly think back on it, sometimes he looked at me with eyes full of hatred, even when we were both still children. The Empress manipulated him, filling him with twisted love and hatred. He once had goodwill toward father, but after Chesterton grew up, his world held only hatred for his mother and for me. That hatred devoured him. He decided to drag me down to hell with him, even if that meant killing my sister. So this is what family ties mean. So this is what royalty means. I'm sorry." Finley leaned his head against hers. Rowena asked, "Why are you apologizing?" Finley said, "Because my pride made you suffer." "Can you show me your injuries?" Rowena's cheeks turned red. What? What are you saying?" Finley nervously explained, "I just want to see how serious the wounds are." "Is that strange?" Embarrassed, Rowena turned away. "So you brought me here just to take my clothes off?" Finley's whole body stiffened. Flushing, he stepped back. "And no, I just want to know how bad it really is." Rowena suddenly laughed. "I'm joking." Finley coughed lightly to cover his embarrassment. "I just can't put my mind at ease unless I see for myself." "Roni, you finally smiled, just like you used to." With a smile, Rowena teased him. "Haha, I'm not showing you." Finley's face went bright red. Fine, I won't look." Rowena turned and walked away. "I'll go make some tea and sit down." Feeling Finley draw close, Rowena asked, "Isn't it a little strange for the Emperor to make tea himself?" Finley said, "There's no Emperor here. There's only you and me." Finley lifted a bucket of water and poured it into a large tub. The flames burned brightly. "Roni, do you remember that day of heavy rain?" "It was not long after I became a hostage." Rowena replied, "Yes." Two young, noble boys laughed in the rain as someone lay fallen on the ground. "Finley, are you the princess's dog?" They jeered loudly. Finley pushed himself upright, looking sharply at the two boys in front of him. One of them sneered, "You think staring at me like that will make me scared?" Rowena suddenly rushed forward. "You bully. Rowena, what are you doing? Do you know what will happen if you hit the Empress's nephew?" "I'm going to tell my aunt." Rowena said angrily, "I don't care who you are. You're the one who did something wrong." The servants cried out anxiously, "Princess." Rowena did not move. She only looked at Finley. Her gaze was firm. "Brother Finley, I won't let anyone bully you ever again, okay? It was from that day on that I always wanted to protect you forever." Rowena buried her head in her knees. "It was just a small thing." Finley refuted, "It wasn't a small thing. It may seem small, but without that moment, there would be no me today. Roni, you made me who I am now." Finley laid his hand on Rowena's head. "Roni, it's another rainy day. This time, let me protect you." He kissed Rowena's hand. "Let's start over. I always hoped the person I love could smile." Finley buried his face against Rowena's shoulder. "But now I understand. Pain and anxiety are simply part of life. Life is still long." Finley had always shown me his feelings through expressions like this. He was always behind me. Even if I forced him to go home, I never doubted that once his duty was done, he would return to my side immediately. I had thought his love was simply in his nature. I had never realized it before. Pain, hope, joy, anger. I had seen that yearning gaze countless times, and yet I had never understood what it truly meant. Rowena apologized. "I'm sorry. Brother. Rowena cupped his face. I took your love for granted. It's okay. Suddenly, Finley's eyes widened sharply. Rowena steadied Finley. In that intimate atmosphere, the two of them kissed. Coming back to himself, Finley held Rowena's face. Even if I called her my sister, in my heart, I still could not bear to watch her show kindness to others. I let her approach me and pretended not to care. I acted like an adult, sent her home, and said I would pray for her happiness, all while hurting myself. I was a coward too, afraid to admit the truth. Roni, Finley brushed his fingertips over the lips he had just kissed. Do you know what you just did? Rowena's cheeks flushed, Finley's reflection filling her eyes. Look only at me. I don't care how anyone defines this feeling, whether as siblings or lovers. I want you. Will you stay by my side always? Then I'll be able to touch you whenever I want. Brother Finley, I was wrong. I am sorry. I was just too afraid. I was afraid you would see through my pride and my foolishness. I was anxious, afraid you would hate me, hate this scarred body of mine. Gently, Finley raised a hand to her cheek. You are my princess. He lifted Rowena's face and gave her a sincere kiss. They say that when people face true fear, they think of the one they truly love. On that day, I finally understood. Roni had fallen into my world like a shooting star. Every moment I spent with her shone like a galaxy. Even just watching her back made me happy then. Surrounded by the warmth of the cottage, the soft glow of the fireplace, and the tranquil rhythm of the rain, I dreamed of a day like this. A dream with only her and me in it. I had never longed for power, but now I am grateful for it, because it is power that allows me to embrace the one I love. For 15 years, all I wished was for her to reach out to me first. If that happened, then even the days I spent waiting would be filled with happiness. Finley pressed his lips to hers again. Roni, thank you for finally giving me your answer. The rain has stopped, Finley said. Almost wish it had lasted a little longer. Rowena asked, Brother, aren't you going back to the palace? Don't call me brother. Call me by my name. Rowena hesitated. Finley bent down closer. At least when it's only the two of us. Stifli, hovena osvidid, okay. Finley kissed the top of Rowena's head, then mounted his horse neatly. I'll come back as soon as I finish my work. Rowena waved goodbye. Okay. A boy hid in the shadows, watching them. Now she really does look like someone from the palace. A boy's voice came from downstairs. Sister, Rowena responded. McCullen, flustered. McCullen said, a man came while you were out. Rowena looked puzzled. A man. McCullen nodded firmly. Yes. Rowena asked, do you remember what he looked like? McCullen tried to recall. He looked very cool. He was wearing expensive clothes. Ah, right. He had beautiful long white hair. Rowena frowned. Long white hair? Who could that be? Not Norris. He likes short white hair. McCullen said, Sister, that man who left just now. Rowena looked at him questioningly. McCullen? McCullen suddenly blushed and waved his hand. Never mind. I just came to tell you that. Remember to lock the door. He hurried off in embarrassment. Rowena thought, this child is still so shy. But it makes me happy that someone cares about me. That night, Rowena walked back home. Beer was shocked. It matches Sir Winton's report exactly. Jamie's eyes sharpened. That's right. The way he knelt before the princess earlier, there's no mistake. His Majesty kissed the princess on the head. They've confirmed their relationship. Let's proceed to the next step. Beard suddenly sensed something wrong. There's movement ahead. A figure in a black robe appeared soundlessly behind Rowena. Your Highness. Rowena whirled around. Who? A man with long silver white hair stood behind her, smiling. I finally found you. Rowena stepped back in alarm. And no, it's really you. She understood instantly. The white-haired man McCullen had mentioned was Norris. Norris said, come with me. Rowena looked at him in confusion. Norris bent slightly and gently took Rowena's hand. Please come to Brownie territory. Rowena pulled her hand away. Come inside first. Norris remained in the motion of holding her hand, clearly sensing that Rowena had changed. Beard said, this is bad. The Emperor's rival has just appeared. We must notify Sir Winton at once. Norris walked into the house. He looked around at the surroundings. Rowena said, you're much calmer than before. Norris replied, so are you. You must have endured far too much over the past 5 years. I'm sorry I never came to visit. Rowena lowered her eyes. I'm the one who should apologize. I used you to force Brother Finley to go home. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'm truly sorry for treating you that way back then. Norris looked at her. She had changed greatly. The innocence she once had was gone, and her smiles had become fewer. But now, hidden in her eyes was a calm, yet unwavering resolve. Norris moved closer to Rowena. "Your Highness, are you only going to let me stand while we talk?" Rowena blinked. "What?" "Lord Norris, please sit wherever you like. It's only ordinary tea. I hope it will do." Norris removed his coat. "Princess." Rowena stiffened, but before she could say anything else, she turned and saw a shocking sight. Norris was kneeling before her. "My family, the Brownie family, pledges to support your rightful imperial status and enthrone you as Queen of Bayonet." "Norris, tell me honestly, do you truly think someone in my current position is fit to be queen?" "Before I was imprisoned, I never tried to understand politics or the lives of the people. After I was thrown into prison, I became an ignorant outsider in my own country. So what do you think of me? Why would you wager on someone so hopeless? I hated that man more than anything. I swore that once I escaped that prison, I would make him taste shame 100-fold. But even the maids guarding me said that their children understood politics better than I did. I was useless, only basking in the glory of royalty. Of course, that was when I refused to accept him. But after I left my homeland and came here, I watched the scenery flying past outside the window. The passers-by on the road, the richly dressed wealthy, children laughing and playing while held in their parents' arms, farmers working in the fields, elegant nobles in the streets. Rowena lowered her eyes. "Do you really think a fool like me, all appearance and no substance, can become queen? Sit down. We need to talk." Norris stood up. "Your Highness, your answer surprises me." Rowena replied. "No one can remain trapped in the pain of the past forever." "Norris, you suffered because of me back then, didn't you?" "No. This country needs someone radiant, someone who can restore its former glory. And you, Princess, you are that light." Rowena did not believe him. "Do you truly believe that?" Norris said, "If the prince ascends the throne, the empire's glory will never return. If you go home..." A light shone in Rowena's eyes. "Norris, I do intend to go home. Truly, I know why everyone supports me. I have royal blood, and compared to Chesterton, I'm easier to control. The Brownie family doesn't want a queen who could be used to rule. I'm only an obedient caged bird. Am I wrong? I believe this was for your sake. That is indeed what my father thought. But the reason I agreed was because I believed I could protect you from further humiliation. Please become Baynace, star once more. By the way, do you still remember our engagement?" At that time, I didn't understand my own feelings. But that interaction really did bring us closer. Rowena stammered. "And Norris continued. Before Finley appeared, I truly believed that one day I would take you as my wife. But ever since Finley appeared, he was always around you. It didn't look like the behavior of an ordinary brother. Since you always kept your distance from me, I thought you only saw me as a friend." Rowena apologized. "I am sorry, Norris." Norris shook his head. "I kept retreating because I lacked courage." Norris stood up. "As your former aide, and as your former fiancé, this time I will never let go again. Norris, we'll see each other again soon. I'm sure it won't be long." He placed a hand over his chest. "Princess, I swear I will become the shield that protects you." Chesterton sat alone in the dark, holding a wine glass. "Your Highness, what is her answer?" "And it seems she met the prince yesterday as well." Chesterton asked. "Anything else?" The subordinate began. "There is," Chesterton said impatiently. "Why are you mumbling? Do you want her tongue cut out?" "I saw the Emperor of Osborne leaving the princess's residence." Propping his face on one hand, Chesterton said, "That differs from the earlier report. Weren't we told that Finley had no interest in Rowena?" The subordinate said, "That detached palace used to be easy to infiltrate, but after that incident, everything changed. Now not even a fly can get in." I don't know what happened between the princess and the emperor during those days, but Chesterton fixed him with a dark expression. "You understand what that means, don't you?" The subordinate hurriedly dropped to one knee. "I understand. Then you know what to do, right?" Lightning flashed and thunder roared. A smile curved at the corner of Chesterton's lips as he raised his wineglass. "Then let us fall into hell together, brother and sister." The sky was overcast. The magnificent palace bore heavy carved ornamentation. The great doors were suddenly thrown open, and a shaft of bright light pierced the darkness. Chesterton stood at the entrance, his huge shadow cast across the floor. A pair of leather boots stepped onto the cold marble with a crisp sound. Looking at the woman on the bed, Chesterton slowly said, "Mother." Dark circles lay heavy under the woman's eyes. "Father is dead." What's wrong, mother? Aren't you happy? That sentence utterly enraged her. She reached out, trying to strangle Chesterton. You demon. Chesterton abruptly caught her hand. Leaning close to her ear, he whispered, Aren't we mother and son? Our fates are bound together. If I'm a demon, then what are you? She glared at him. You killed His Majesty. You drove him to his death. Chesterton's eyes were icy. Do you still love that man? Even though he never loved you. Her voice trembled. Shut up. He loved me. He loved me. Chesterton seized her wrist. Have you forgotten? Wasn't that what Rowena and her mother always said? Chesterton bent and whispered. You taught him that, didn't you? That only obedience earns love. That's why he hanged himself like that. So tell me, did father ever come close to you? Chesterton's gaze pierced through the darkness. You were never loved, were you? The mother muttered. Demon. Chesterton let go of her hand. We are among the few in this world. No, my younger brother Lewis is still here. Once that child grows up, we should make him contribute to the country on the battlefield. With tears in her eyes, his mother glared at him in fury. Ignoring her rage, Chesterton sat down on the bed. Your most trusted son is finally going to become king. With that, mother can also obtain everything she has long desired. So, let's start over, like an ordinary mother and son. You never once sang me a lullaby, did you? He looked at his mother coldly. Sing to me now, like a real mother. Time returned to the previous day. Kofi stood alone in the hall. The firelight in the fireplace flickered, illuminating his anxious figure as he waited. Kofi held a cup in both hands, his eyelids twitching wildly from too much caffeine. Did His Majesty forget about the matter beneath the residence? The door suddenly opened. Finley walked in. The Emperor, Crawford, has passed away. Kofi shot to his feet. What did you say? He could not believe his ears. Your Majesty, Finley said gravely. The plan for the Ardo trade port may change. There may even be military friction. Understand. Finley continued. Also, sorry, but please pack my clothes and send them to Princess Rowena's residence. Kofi looked horrified. You're sending her your clothes? Expressionless, Finley repeated, send my clothes over. Kofi froze completely, 3 question marks practically appearing over his head. Finley impatiently urged, you heard me. Go do it. Wait. Kofi turned back. Roni likes flowers, so prepare some potted plants too. The inside doesn't need cleaning. I'll do it myself. He continued, also, from today onward, unless I summon you, don't come after 5 in the afternoon. Kofi's expression changed. Your Majesty, your personal safety. Finley cut him off. That's right. Increase security, but don't let Roni notice. Then he added, I won't cause trouble. But his gaze turned sharp. Don't you understand? Kofi was utterly stunned, his mind blank. He bowed deeply at once. Understood. Standing there alone, he thought, what on earth happened over the past few days? I don't understand, but His Majesty looks serious. A hand knocked at the door. A messenger hurried up the stairs. Your Majesty, an urgent report. A letter has arrived from the Duke of Bayonet. The sky was clear and blue, clouds drifting lazily past. Kofi directed, put it here. Rowena looked puzzled. What is this? Kofi smiled. Luggage. That is His Majesty's full set of clothing. Rowena looked even more confused. His Majesty's clothes? Why are they being put here? Kofi, sweating coldly, gave no explanation and only issued orders. Inside, he screamed, I want to know too. Rowena grew thoughtful. Kofi bowed. We shall take our leave now. Rowena waved. All right. She looked at the trunk, then fell into thought. She sat silently and picked up a book to read. Roni, Finley rode up on horseback. Why are you sitting here? Rowena stood and explained, I was just protecting your things from being stolen. Sir Kofi said not to touch them. Finley lifted the trunk. I moved in. Rowena was stunned. What? Finley smiled and held up one finger. You'll stay upstairs. I'll stay downstairs. Let's live together. If you refuse, I'll do it in the name of the Emperor of Osborne. I'll order myself into this house. Or should I remind you that this is an imperial command?